There you go. Hi, I'm Ryan with Best Delegate, and I'm here with Bharath Ghanesh, the Secretary-General of UC Berkeley MUN United Nations Conference. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ryan.
How are things going? How are you feeling?
It feels pretty great. We filled up 3 floors of the hotel with a lot of committees, and yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Cool. What's been the highlight of the conference so far?
I think the highlight was the ICJ was one of our biggest accomplishments. Dan is the Undersecretary's General of Specialized Bodies, which is kind of our General Assembly sort of committees, and as well the ICJ falls under there. And we actually have that in the penthouse, another penthouse, the Hilton. And so it's really nice for the delegates to sit there. And as well, it's been pretty intense. And I sat in on a few debates, and it's been pretty interesting. Cool. So I think the ICJ was really great. We've got a lot of good reviews on that. Our chair, Amin, has put in tons of work, and I think he's put together a tremendous committee. Cool.
Cool. You must have seen the conference grow in the time that you've been here. What have been the big changes for the college conference?
What do you mean?
I mean, I figure you've been involved for all 4 years, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I started as a sophomore, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any changes in the conference? Has it gotten bigger? You brought more delegations in from different places around the country?
Yeah, I mean, I think that growth has been a big thing this year. What happened was we had 2 years ago, Brooke, who's a good friend of mine, I actually just visited her, and I've just been thinking about this. And she put together a conference at the Hyatt near North Beach. And I think we had probably around 250 to 280 in attendance, but I'm not sure about the figures. So that was around the most we've usually had. That was a pretty big conference. But we've always had very substantive committees with specific topics. As well, we have really, really interesting and unique bodies that we emulate. That year in 2009, we had the Organization of American States. So we had we've had a lot of really interesting committees. And we've kind of tried to carry that tradition over. So last year we had a joint crisis on World War II, and we held that at the Grand Hyatt in Union Square. And so we've kind of been going from bigger hotels to bigger and bigger hotels. And this year's actually been our most attendance. I think we broke over 300 this year, nice. which is a big milestone. As well, we had interest from a couple delegations in Africa actually, but it didn't pan out that they could attend. But we do have a delegation from Italy that's attending this conference, which is, I think that's our first international delegation. As well, our representation from the East Coast has increased quite a bit.
Yeah, I've met a number of the delegates from UPenn and GW and UChicago.
Harvard's here.
Yeah, Harvard.
Yeah. So it's definitely been a lot of growth in that sense. As well, our staff's gotten a little bigger, so we've been able to handle more staff-intensive committees, like a joint crisis on the civil war in Lebanon. So we have a historical joint crisis, and I guess we do have a tendency towards historical crisis. But we also have a simulation of the First Crusade from the perspective of the Europeans. As well, we have this is one of the most interesting ones because it's actually playing out a decolonial, post-colonial struggle, which is the independence mission to the United Kingdom.
Right.
For India.
That looked like a really cool committee. When I stopped by it,
Yeah, actually, I just took a video of someone hiding in the closet of the boardroom and jumping out and trying to assassinate Gandhi.
Okay.
So yeah, we definitely have a really creative staff that is really energetic about crisis.
Cool. What would you say is the hallmark for UCBMUN? What makes it different? What makes it stand out from other conferences?
I've done a lot of crisis committees at a lot of different conferences, as well as GAs. And I think our GAs are very, very much more intimate in terms of the openness that our chairs have into working with delegates. As well, we realize that because we're a West Coast conference, there's a lot of smaller MUN clubs that don't get as much experience as in the East Coast because we have to fly so far for conferences. Right. So we're definitely very open to beginners, and so our chairs are really good about parliamentary procedure and making sure that everybody learns. So I think that's a really big thing is we, as a staff, try to be collaborative with the people that come. And I don't know how much I noticed that with other conferences. The way we do crisis is, I think, quite different than, I can't speak to Chicago because they're a fantastic conference as well. but I think have a different approach than we do.
Okay.
I feel like Chicago has a very good way of proceeding and creating progressive crisis simulations where there's kind of an endpoint that gets reached. And what we try to do is actually quite different. We try to throw away the idea of having a progression and really just allow delegates to rewrite history or kind of just do whatever they want. So what we try to do is be really responsive. And it's been a challenge, of course, because that involves a lot of staff, and we don't have that much staff. We're trying to grow more and more on Berkeley's campus as well. But we have very, very strong staff members. And so they're able to look at directives that come out of crisis committees and answer them quickly and keep everything interesting. So what we do is we try to throw away having the idea of progressions and working with delegates in order to make sure that they kind of get what they want happens in the crisis committees.
A lot of, it sounds like you get a lot of feedback from the delegates. It's like they act in committee and you kind of respond to that.
Yeah, that's a really big thing. We want to make sure that the conference is tailored to what our customers want, essentially.
Very cool.
So we look at it that way.
And you and I were just speaking about how a lot of, on your end, is a lot of prep work, and then you get to the conference and the staff really takes it on, and then you get to go around and, again, I hope you've been enjoying your own
of course I have.
What would you say is the best part of being Secretary-General?
I think the really nice thing is just walking into a committee and seeing peers that I've worked with for this year, seeing them confidently running a committee after all the training, after all the work that we've put in. And so when they're happy with their committees, I'm quite happy. And when I hear from head delegates that, hey, we do have these couple criticisms and we try to act on those as soon as possible. When I hear that, hey, committee's going really well, I think that's the biggest thing that makes my day much, much better.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been involved with MUN? I know you said you joined as a sophomore, but was that was that your introduction to
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what would you say this MUN experience has meant to you over these past few years?
Okay, this involves a little backstory.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, I did something called Youth in Government, which is in California and probably 40 other states, and it's run through the YMCA. So I got really involved in that. So I have a speech background, and I have a background in presiding over committees and things like that. But coming to Berkeley, I was really interested more in international relations and things like that. So I got into Model UN rather than mock trial or speech and debate or something like that. And what's really nice is that our club is quite small, and everybody has a lot of chance to do what they want, take ownership over what they want. So I think that's been a big takeaway for MUN for me. But in terms of the actual experience of going to Model UN conferences, that's been also really different, I think, because what I think is more important really than just committee is the fact that you meet a lot of people at the conferences. And it's just you don't get a chance to meet with college students from all over the country when you're on a campus because, the whole time you're just working with people that are at Berkeley, everybody's coming up their way about doing things.
Sure.
And so when you come to a conference, you get to experience a lot of different ways of thinking about things. And I think that's really beneficial for everybody. So that's what I really enjoyed, is being able to network and learn from other students from different schools, different approaches. That's been great.
Very cool. You're senior now?
Yeah.
What do you know what you're doing next year?
I've applied to graduate school.
Okay.
So once my hopefully acceptance letters come in, I'll know what I'm doing.
Okay.
If not, I'll try to find a job. So.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, good luck with that, and congratulations on the conference.
Thanks.
Looks like it's running really well, and thank you again for having me.
All right. Thank you.